part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
This week 1 and week 2 NBA slate breakdown of the Cavs on the Break NBA podcast is brought to you by our good friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. And even though this is an NBA podcast, we know Cleveland loves its Browns and the NFL. And the NFL season is going strong, let me tell you. And the DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking new customers up with an offer that's even stronger. If you bet $5 on any game this week, you can score $200 instantly in bonus bets. That's right. Bet $5 for the first time on any game this week, and you can score $200 instantly in bonus bets. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of a sweetener offer every game this October. I'm talking about same game parlays, single plays like yardage over unders, who scores first, and even team bets. I like personally throwing in a couple money line parlays together and see what hits. Get on the game day greatness today by downloading the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code P3Cavs for that sweet $200 instant bonus bets with a $5 bet. Again, that's P3Cavs to activate that $200 instantly in bonus bets for new customers only when you bet $5 on the NFL. That's code P3Cavs only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available. If you have a problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccp.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas City, licensed partner, Golden Nugget Lake, Charles, Louisiana. 21 age and over varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after assurance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility and deposit restrictions. Terms and responsible gaming resources apply.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
What's good, breakers? That sound means it's time for Cavs on the Break NBA podcast presented by our good friends at DraftKings, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. With me, as always, he is the NBA writer for hoopswire.com. He's our Cavs insider, national NBA writer, Sam Amico. Sammy, what's up, baby?
Oh, not a whole lot. How are you guys doing?
I am wonderful. Also with us, he does sports at Fox 8. He's the host of Save Our Brothers on the Baseline podcast right here in the Press Play Podcast Network. He also does a Browns, John, you said a Browns pregame at Fox 8, right?
Yes, Orange and Brown Countdown.
Orange and the Oranger Brown Countdown. John Sabol. John, what's up, baby?
Hey, what's good, guys? Good to see you.
Love talking Cavs with some of my favorite people, and fellas, we have some things to talk about because here is where the Cavs stand. All right, right now we're recording this Tuesday, November 7th. The Cavs are 3-4. All right, with wins over the Brooklyn Nets, which we talked about in our last episode, and since then we have beaten the Knicks and the Warriors, but we, have struggled here, it seems like, over the first couple of weeks of the season. A loss to the Pacers, the first game of the in-season tournament. And it has been clear, John and Sam, that we find ourselves not in the same league as the teams we talked about in our first episode. We are not in the same league, at least standings-wise, as the Celtics, as the 76ers, as the Bucks, who are 5-1, 5-1, and 4-2, respectfully. And I understand, fellas, it's the first 2 weeks, but I want to start this episode with this question, and Sam, I'll pose it to you first. Why have the Celtics and the Bucks adjusted so well to the new acquisitions with Holiday and Dame, and the Cavs struggled, it seems, with these role players to get any type of momentum or string some wins together? Why have the Cavs struggled?
Well, I think a lot of it is, frankly, the injuries. When you had Darius Garland only playing, now he's played 3 games. So that's less than half. You've had Jared Allen, who's played 2. I think that's really the big thing. You don't have your starting lineup together. So you're throwing guys in, your top reserves that are starting. That hurts your bench. I just think it was the injuries. They weren't whole. By the time they came around, I'm really judging the Cavs guys on the last 6 quarters, which is the final two quarters of the Pacers in that in-season tournament game, when they had all five starters that game, and then the Golden State game. So they've looked very good in those 6 quarters for the most part. They've looked like the team that they thought they could be, the team they envisioned when they put this, thing together with Donovan Mitchell at the start of last season. So I think they're in good shape. I think they're up there. The record's not going to show it, but I think that when they're healthy, or as JB Bickerstaff likes to say, when we are whole, I think that they are up there with those other teams that you mentioned, the Celtics, Bucks, Sixers of the world. At least maybe if not right there with them, probably a notch below.
Johnny, are you worried?
No, not at all. Not yet. And to echo Sam's sentiment there, the injury thing it cannot be understated enough. I mean, you're trying to get guys into a rhythm. You're getting Darius Garland and Jared Allen back in the flow of things. It's going to take some time. It's going to take a few weeks. So the record obviously is not an indication of what this team is going to be. However, with that said, I think a big question moving forward is going to have to be who's going to be that second scorer on this team, because Donovan Mitchell can't carry the load the whole time. And despite the injuries, there hasn't been a second consistent scorer. And that is something in my eyes that I think I'll continue to look at as we move into December. Get through November, and once everyone's healthy, you've got a few weeks under your belt. You're getting that chemistry back from where it was last spring. And, who's going to take that step to be that scorer? Is it going to be Darius Garland? Probably. But is Evan Mobley going to take that step, which I know we will talk extensively about here in these next few episodes?
It's like, John, we follow the same team and talk about sports. And, they say great minds think alike. That was my very next follow-up question. Are we concerned about Spider's workload? I mean, he has, just like last year when Garland was out with that laceration against the Raptors or whatever that was, like he's like, hey, hop on my back. I got you. And he has dominated, Sam. Are you concerned about his workload?
No, I think, I don't think it's his workload that's so concerning as much as right now he's averaging over 30 points a game.
Incredible clip.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's great to have, but the bottom line is you don't want him scoring that much if you're going to be a true contender, because you want him more around the 26 to 28 points range, and then you have, a more balanced attack with a Garland, a Mobley, Strus, whether it's, Karis LeVert, whoever the other guy is, other 2 or 3 guys. You want more balance when it comes to your offense. It's great to have. And they won a game, I think probably New York or Golden State, where, okay, we're still kind of finding our way. Well, we have this guy in Donovan Mitchell who's going to be able to take over. And that's great to have. So it's a good problem to have. And I wouldn't even call it a problem. But I just think big picture-wise, you want these guys functioning as a unit with your star averaging 26 or 28, as opposed to, having to carry things with 30 points a game. Because we saw what the Knicks did last year in the playoffs. They just removed him by blitzing him and double and triple teaming him and making the other guys try to beat you. Well, they hadn't played like that all season. So, you want to have that balance a little bit more. As far as Donovan Mitchell's minutes, I think that JB at this point has done a pretty good job of managing that. But, and it's hard to keep a guy who can score the way Donovan Mitchell does to, it was just kind of like the old Michael Jordan thing where the Bulls didn't win a title until Phil Jackson convinced Michael Jordan, you know what, we need everybody to be, you could be the leading scorer and the leading shot taker, but we need balance. And until we get that balance, we're not going to win big. So I think that that's probably the one area of the Cavs. And again, there's 75 of these things left before the playoffs. So I think that's an area they intend to work on over the next 4 or 5 months.
Sure. It is November 7th. They just finished a week 2 slate of games. John, I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised Sam didn't go with another known legendary, maybe greatest of all time player for the Cavs, who very similarly stand around and everyone ended up watching at some point. And some of those first tenured later Cavs teams, very, painstakingly, LeBron, go do your thing. And it's hard not to see Mitchell now be like, oh man, like here we go again.
Yeah, I know it's still early, but I think history is definitely repeating itself in this early going. I mean, it's the same thing. It's what happened with LeBron in those years is happening now with Donovan Mitchell. I find this very interesting. While Sam was talking, I did a quick little dive here on his minutes usage. And he's only played in 6 games this year because one of those games against the Pacers, he was inactive. He didn't play. So we'll take for the first 6 games this season versus his first 6 games last season. Do you guys understand or realize that his minutes usage in 6 games is increased 4 more minutes a game this year?
I'm not shocked.
In 6 games. That's nuts.
I'm not shocked.
He went from 35.7 minutes a game to 39.7 minutes per game in the first 6 games last year versus this year.
Yeah.
Now, that's also inflated because no Jared Allen and no Darius Garland, and that's not sustainable, as Sam just said, and as
it's not
JB Bickerstaff.
Are we sure?
Well, I should say this. It's obviously can be sustainable. I just don't think they're going to continue to. They're going to be cognizant of that going forward because you can't burn him out without not getting help in the scoring department from his teammates going into the playoffs. Sure, I guess it's sustainable if he's healthy, but it's not practical. It's not smart.
Right. I have a deep conspiracy that I don't know if I want to just throw out there right now, because it's November 7th and we have a whole season ahead. But I wouldn't. There's a part of me that's wondering, man, is he doing this on purpose to at the end of the season have Exhibit A through minute 39? Why this isn't going to work? I don't think that's his intent. I just it's November 7th. That's he knows that the season is long. He knows the playoffs are different style of basketball. We need it now, and it's amazing. And I love Donovan Mitchell. It's just, like I said, we've seen this before, history repeating itself. I just don't want to see him walking off, taking this jersey off an early round exit again. That might be my lowest moment of a Cavs fan, seeing LeBron get bounced against the Celtics or whatever team that was and taking that.
Yeah, it was Boston.
That jersey off. And it was just it was awful. It was the worst.
I think we as Cavs fans have a little bit of
PTSD.
Yeah. Well, one, because of LeBron, that situation. But I also think there are a lot of situations that Cavaliers fans and the media included kind of compare the current situation to the LeBron era when it's a totally different era. Just like last year when they lost to the Knicks in the playoffs. Okay. Yeah. Everybody was livid. Whereas I thought going in that series, they had a pretty good chance to lose. The reality.
Did.
Oh, with that, absolutely. With so many playoff rookies, whereas the Knicks had, they had this experience. They had an experienced coach, successful coach in the playoffs. And the Cavs had, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, all tasting the playoffs for the first time. But everybody was livid because you know why? Because in Cleveland, over the past decade, when you made the playoffs, you got to the finals. And that was kind of the expectation. And you have to put that in the past. I've been preaching this for about a year and a half, this is a different type of team and it's built differently. And it doesn't have LeBron James. Donovan Mitchell is a fabulous player. He's not LeBron James in his prime. Okay. So I think he's probably a better player than LeBron now, but he's not LeBron James in his prime. And he's just not going to be that guy. For one, he's 7 inches shorter, but he's just not the passer LeBron was, so he doesn't kind of have that thing that LeBron has that's going to put you over the top. So I think that we just have to remember he's not going to do the same things that LeBron did. And number one, Chase, if he rips off his jersey at the end of the season, big deal. He's under contract again next year.
Oh, yeah, Sam, don't say that.
I was just going to, two things to Sam's point. Yeah, Donovan's still under contract.
That would make me so sad. No one wants a team that's unhappy or like a sucky culture.
Well,
no
that's
one
just
wants
mad.
that.
You're just mad if you lose. I don't think that means I want out of here. I think it means we lost. I'm mad.
Well, as a fan, I would be super bummed to see our star player have that
Donovan
attitude
Mitchell's,
and not care what the team think. Like I don't want to see.
He's not that guy.
No,
he's not.
Yeah,
Donovan Mitchell's not that guy.
He's not that. He's not that guy. And I think it's the Cleveland fan base has a massive. The PTSD is massive when it comes to that stuff. So I don't think that's really indicative on if they get bounced again that he's leaving or anything like that. To Sam's point, 2 different situations. But what I will disagree slightly on is I think for the most part, I'll speak on behalf of fans for the most part. I don't think the fans knew going into it. Like Sam, you said, yeah, for the last decade, you're in the playoffs, you're going to the finals. And I don't think fans are going into that last year thinking not just finals, but thinking like they were mad because they didn't get there. I think fans were pissed at how they lost and how they got owned, more so not less going to the finals. I think people are realistic to that. Like, hey, we don't have LeBron here. This is a whole different, era. We know this isn't what it was, and we're going to do something completely different. And I think it's just the surprising exit and how they lost really irked the fan base, and it irked us especially.
And John, it also irked Bickerstaff, right? And Kobe Altman. They talked about that at Media Day. And I think, okay, so look, we know it's week 2. It's November 7th, and this isn't Cavs season is ruined. Like, no, this isn't it. But coming off of a frustrating playoff showing, I mean, the tail between their legs, they got their butt whipped, right? And to come out at the start of the season, regardless of injuries, at 3-4, when you have an Evan Mobley who's supposed to help, and like this, I expected a better showing than 3-4, even if Garland is injured and Allen is, we still supposed to have Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, that we should be showing more growth than this. And that's all that I'm coming from, which I think is valid. I think that's fair. And I think it's fair to hold the team to that standard, especially when they've been pumping Evan Mobley as the next real deal.
Well, I'm going to slightly disagree with you there, Chase, because maybe Allen's not such a big. I mean, Allen is a big deal in terms of defense. Your defense, having him there with Mobley, and the Cavs won last year because of their defense. But a bigger deal to me when they were not winning these games was the absence of Garland, because you're talking about a borderline all-star point guard, and everything on offense starts with your point guard. He's setting up the plays. He's creating for others. And this isn't a point guard who's averaging 8 to 15 points a game. He's a 20-point a game scorer and a good shooter and a guy who can penetrate. He gets guys in the ball where in their shooting position. To me, that is why bigger than Allen. And I thought, missing Allen's a big deal, but I would be wholeheartedly agreeing with you if they started 3-4 and were only missing Allen. But the fact that they didn't have the facilitator, and here's the biggest case against what you're saying, Chase. They've looked really good since they've had their pieces. So
let's talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. So they beat the Golden State Warriors, who hadn't lost on the road in 4 games. I think that was impressive.
You had mentioned that you've been really impressed with the last 6 quarters. Impressive win at home against the Warriors. Sam, what did you like over the last 6 quarters? What about that made you at ease and be like, oh, we're going to be okay?
Well, I wasn't stressed, so
to begin with,
to be at ease. But I would say that is the team that they envisioned, the team that played really well. They started off terrible against the Pacers, and I chalk that up to, okay, this is Jared Allen's first game. No, he didn't even play in the preseason. Garland's back, and then all of a sudden your starting lineup's totally different. I thought that, and you're on the road against a Pacers team that's much improved, but they gave themselves a shot there in the second half. So what I've liked, particularly against Golden State, was they didn't play a great game and still beat them. And that was mostly because of their defense. I look up and I think the Cavs aren't playing very well.
at halftime, I look up, I'm at the game, I look up, they're up 12, and I think they're not playing their best. And Mitchell said that after the game. He said, yeah, it was nice we won, but we can be a lot better. And that was a win over the Warriors, which I haven't done in years. So to me, what I like is that they are winning mostly right now because of their defense, or they're playing well. I shouldn't say winning. They're playing well because of their defense when their offense is finding its way. And then they got to win because of their defense. They got back in that Pacers game because of their defense. And if this team's going to have a chance to do something, it's going to be because of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley defensively on what they continue to do. And, Mobley's been dominant on the glass. Offensively, up and down right now. But on the glass, there's no question. And defensively, no question. So to me, those are the two biggest things. If those two guys play as well as they have defensively, that's what I've been impressed with.
So what you're saying is, our podcast is like the Cavs now, and then you got a new mic, and everything is just like as it should be. We're now podcasting up to our potential because you have a better mic. Just like
I got
Allen
a new
being
mic.
back.
I got a new haircut.
Yeah, looking good.
I even think I have on a new sweatshirt. So,
well, let's just get this on record. This is the third mic we've sent you.
Well, it's that third time's a charm, right? Because
okay,
this is the first one I've actually gotten to use.
Okay, John. What are your thoughts on the last 6 quarters of victory? The last 2 against the Pacers, a victory over the Warriors, to kind of alleviate some. It's maybe like, I wonder how the Cavs are going to, bounce back at the beginning of the season.
I think the biggest glaring issue that wasn't talked about enough, Sam kind of hinted on it, was the fact the first few games without Darius Garland. I mean, this was a team that didn't have a point guard. I mean, you're missing Ricky Rubio as your backup point guard. And with him not there, the Cavs had to rely on Max Strus and Donovan Mitchell to run the point pretty much. And temporarily that can work, but long term it's not. And you kind of saw the struggle to where this team was, which kind of leads to a hole in the roster right now, is not having another point guard, by the way, that can fill that role. So which is kind of interesting because that's something that we all kind of overlooked when we looked at we didn't obviously know Ricky Rubio would step away. And you do have other guards there, a lot of shooting guards, and Ty Jerome, Max Strus, and of course Sam Merrill's there, but he doesn't get much playing time.
Craig Porter Jr. got some minutes.
Craig Porter, yeah, I was just going to say him. Yeah, so that is an interesting roster situation going forward here. If DG gets banged up again, what are they going to do? Temporarily, I guess you're going to continue to use Strus and Mitchell in that aspect of things. The last 6 quarters, though, that's the team that that JB and Kobe Altman were looking at having, because even though they lost that game against the Pacers, I mean, they played horrible early on and rallied back. They shut down the Warriors for the most. That game, the Warriors game, was pretty much Cavs the entire way. I wouldn't say dominant, but they were leading for the most of that game, and you're putting away a team that was on a 4 or 5 game win streak, who had not beat them. I think that was the first time the Cavs beat them, Sam, since Christmas Day of 2016.
Yeah,
in the regular season, not including that one NBA Finals game in 2017. So, and it was the first home win. That's a boost of confidence right there. It gives you some little momentum here as they head on this 4-game road trip.
Look, I don't want this to seem so negative. I feel like it has had this negative bend toward it over the last 20 or so minutes. The Cavs they have had injuries, and it is difficult, and every team has to deal with injuries. And so it's just the Cavs got it early again this year. It will be exciting to see this team continue to mold and gel with their starting 5 of Garland, Mitchell, Strus, Mobley, and Allen. And then seeing how Bickerstaff can tinker and work and roll out the small ball lineup and just all sorts of fun that we've seen glimpses of. And hopefully over these next couple weeks, we get to see really this team roll off 5-6 wins. I know they're on a West Coast trip now, but what better time to turn it around to, get these new guys in with the team's culture, maybe get Tristan some minutes there, and just come back to the Rock and feeling good. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do a new segment called Sam on the Beat, where he's going to offer some insights that he sees at practice, and then look at Slate 3 and 4. Stick around, Cavs on the break. We'll be right back. I want to take a few moments to tell you about my good friends at EasySigns.com. EasySigns.com is the leader in digitally manufactured signage. Anything you need printed for your home, your yard, your business, or church, EasySigns.com has you covered. EasySigns.com manufactures a large range of digitally printed signage using the latest technology, including large format HP dye printers as well as latex printers. And if that wasn't enough, they then deliver this product to all their customers all over the United States. They take the expense and the stress out of signage and pass the savings on to the customer. Look, I've experienced this firsthand as they've helped me create an incredible 11x7 stretch tension fabric display for Cavs Media Day. Their customer service was the best, and my display was shipped to me in no time. Even after the display was ripped upon setup, it ripped as I was setting it up. They sent me a brand new display, no questions asked. They were the best. EasySigns.com prides itself in 24-hour production, instant online pricing, competitive pricing, and boast amazing customer service. If you're looking for vinyl banners, feather flags, corrugated plastic signs, table throws, or yard signs, you got to check out EasySigns.com. And because you're on the break with us, because you listen to this podcast, if you use code CavsPod10 at checkout, you'll receive 10% off from our good friends at EasySigns.com. Again, it's CavsPod10 at checkout for 10% off. EasySigns.com, high quality digitally printed signage at low cost.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tyrus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tyrus, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sabol.
And I'm Scott Sabol, and we're hosts of the Sabol Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sabol Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
The R&R podcast going to be rocking and rolling with you because football season is underway. College, Ohio State, the Power Fives, the MAC, the Browns. Michael Regai, are you ready to rock and roll with some football?
Kenny, I've been ready. This is our time of year. This is what R&R is all about. We're going to be with you every week. Kenny just said it. Browns, NFL, Ohio State centric. So you got to stay with us all fall and winter long here on R&R.
That's right. The Regai and Rhoda podcast coming to you here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Subscribe now and don't miss a show.
Hey, I'm Jason.
And I'm Gary, and we love ball cards.
And if you love ball cards too, good news. You just found your new favorite podcast. From breaks to grading.
And from collecting to flipping, join us on the Ball Card Show.
The sports podcast for the sports collector.
All right, we are back. Cavs on the Break NBA podcast presented by our good friends at DraftKings. You won't hear this. We just had the longest break. We talked Guardians hiring the new manager. We talked Cavs Lakers on Thanksgiving. We talked OSU Michigan. We made fun of Sam. We made fun of John. We made fun of me. Everyone, we just had the best time. I wish you guys could have. But maybe we should offer like a special subscription where people can watch or listen to our live recordings and just be a part of all the chaos that happens on our pod. I bet maybe my mom would do it.
I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
No, listen, we got some loyal breakers. We have some loyal breakers. I believe in them. Well, hey, let's do a new segment on the show called Sam on the Beat. And if you've been following the show, following Sam, you know that Sam is back following the Cavs full time. He's back on the beat. And we thought it'd be cool if he offered a little bit of insight and some knowledge of what he sees at practice and going on behind the scenes at the Rock. And so Sam was telling me earlier that they didn't practice today or yesterday. And so Sam, on the beat, what can you share to us here on Cavs on the Break that maybe the regular Cavs fan wouldn't know or see or hear on any other podcast?
Well, I'll tell you probably the most interesting thing that I saw at practice that made me happy.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So far this year. It was probably maybe after the second game. The players are all shooting around. And of course, Tristan Thompson is just talking up a storm. It's just him and Damian Jones are, working on shots, low post shots. They finish up. Tristan takes the ball. He keeps talking. He's telling stories about his time with the Lakers last year toward the end of the season, just talking about different stuff. And Damian is we met him. We had him on the pod, just an incredibly nice person, very laid back, reserved. And he's just being polite and listening to Tristan's stories. And Tristan he takes the ball and he just keeps talking. It's like the basketball part of it's just almost like, a second thought, because he was so intent to tell his story about the Lakers to Damian Jones, who's providing a nice audience. And Tristan goes to the top of the key and he just keeps talking. He's at the top of the 3-point line, top of the key, still talking up a storm, throws up a shot, nothing but net. Tristan from 3, and just keeps talking and telling his story like it's nothing. And Damian gets the rebound, throws it out to him, and he hits another. And he's just, normally Tristan making threes is big news, even to Tristan. But the fact that he just kept telling his story, and it was like he didn't even think about taking the 3-pointer. So to me, I just saw that and I thought, yeah, he's going to be good for this group because he keeps things light. He keeps things energetic. And we see that obviously on the court. But to me, it was just a fun moment to see Tristan throwing up threes and nailing them and acting like it's no big deal, not even acknowledging that he made it because he was so intent to tell his story. So hopefully I'll bring you better insight and nuggets, better than that, from practice as the season goes on. But frankly, because of the games and now they've gone out of town, haven't been to a lot. So but that's so far as the best story that I've seen in the early practice.
Well, let's do this. What does a practice usually look like?
Well, we don't get to watch, obviously, the practice. We get to go in right after, which is, the guys are still out there. Now they're not working with JB and instruction, as a team. They're getting individual workouts and extra shots up, usually free throws, a lot of free throws. They're taking a lot of threes, extra threes. I saw George Niang, just go around the perimeter one day after practice, probably taking 6 shots from each spot, like 5 different spots all the way around the 3-point line. And I think he might have missed one, probably took 30, maybe missed one. I mean, they're just getting in reps a lot of after practice. And the media obviously is free to see that. And a lot of times we'll be interviewing coaches or players at that time. But yeah, no, they're working on their games. It's the first time really I saw Jared Allen in practice or post practice when he was going through extra drills, really putting in work in. And I thought, yeah, he's ready to go. And those are the kind of things you get to see and can tell just from seeing them do their post-practice workouts. And usually, I mean, it's just about every guy. I mean, a lot of guys stay late and stick around and get up shots. And it's amazing they don't make free throws during the game because they hardly ever miss them in practice. So
yeah, Sam, I was going to say that because usually after practice, I mean, they're either, like you say, working individual workouts or just chatting up and hitting free throws. Yeah, they don't make them during the game.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I remember last year going to practice at the end of the year, going up against that Knicks series. I remember Daniel Gibson was working a lot with like Isaac Okoro in the corner on his corner threes, because that was the biggest thing that they were working on him throughout the whole season. And Booby was instrumental in trying to help him and still trying to help him. Sorry, Chase. But yeah, it's funny. People like to think we are us media. It's the same thing with like the Browns too. It's like you can't watch all of practice. They only open it up for X amount of minutes for you, and then the way the Cavs do it, you're doing a interview with JB and players simultaneously. Then while those guys are still getting some shots up.
Well, I'm old enough to remember when they did let you watch the full practice.
I was just going to say that back in the day, right?
Yeah, I do remember that they would let you in, but teams started outlawing that, and you know why? Really, one big reason:
stealing plays and signs.
No, a lot of fights.
Connor Stallion strikes again.
Right. People, I mean, the players, sometimes, I don't know this to be the case now because we're not in practice, but at the time there was a lot of chippiness, sometimes fights. And then those things were getting reported on. It was like the Steve Kerr, Michael Jordan thing. Nobody would have known about that if the reporters weren't at practice when Kerr shoved Jordan punched him. And you know what that was over? They were scrimmaging, and Steve Kerr said the score was 10-9, and Jordan said no, it was 9-9, and they got into a heated verbal and then physical altercation at the time. But anyway, that ended about early 2000s. They stopped letting people into the actual full practice, and now you go in after when it's lighthearted and guys are going through individual workouts with the coaches or whatever.
Well, now you're not even allowed in the locker room at the Rock.
No, you are.
Oh, maybe after the games?
Maybe Chase isn't. No, you know Chase, what? They did have because of the COVID situation,
they had different
tiers, but now it's everybody's back in there.
Okay.
So yeah. So when you come up, Chase, we'll get you in there to. Unfortunately, Kevin Love isn't here.
My best friend Kevin
Chase
Love
to get mad, at Chase, but
I remember. Sam, you probably heard this too. Terry Pluto gave some great stories of back in the day when he would come and cover the Cavs at the Coliseum with those Price Doherty teams, of just sitting there and watching them. And I think he described it as like poetry in motion.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome to see. And too bad now the times are different where you can't watch practice. And that was before LeBron. So you said early 2000s. So that was, we probably just missed that, right? Right before LeBron.
Right. It was like right before LeBron. And then the media used to play pickup after on the practice facility. We used to play pickup games. And listen to this, guys. I played on a team 3-on-3 after practice. It was me, Jeff Phelps, and Steve Kerr against 3 other guys, random media guys, and we lost. We lost. And you know what? After the game, Phelps said, yeah, we lost because Amico took all the shots when we had a former NBA player.
Amico's pulling. Amico's pulling.
Yeah, I was like, well, we got Steve Kerr, so if I miss, it's no big deal. We're going to win, right? So
that's amazing.
And
it's funny you say that because Terry said the same thing, Sam. They would have media play like with the players back in the day at the Coliseum.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was no big deal. John Bagley used to come when I was a kid. John Bagley, the Cavs point guard in the 80s, before Mark Price, would come down to the playground, the park, and play with us and play hard. I mean, he wouldn't take any shots, but he would dish the ball and he'd be running up and down. I mean, they would never allow that today. Probably in their contract that they're not even allowed to do that. But no, he would do that. Even Kevin Durant, early in his Thunder career, kept a pair of basketball shoes in his car. And if he saw kids playing at the park and he felt like getting in a run, he would put on his shoes and head on over there. But I just don't think they allow that anymore, probably because of how much money they're making and how much they invest in the players now.
Yeah, I think I'm really going to like this segment, Sam on the Beat. Sam, you need to get your gym or your personal trainer to sponsor the segment or something, man. Like, let's get this sponsored.
Can you tell I have a personal trainer? Or is
You
it just
do,
because
right? No, you do.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Say, hey,
Yeah.
let's get you some exposure. Let's get you something, man. Let's get this sponsored. Sam on the beat. It's too good not to be sponsored.
I will work on that.
All right. Well, hey, let's look at the Cavs schedule here. We're in the middle of Slate 3, and they play, for listening to this on Wednesday, which you probably will be, they play tonight against the Oklahoma City Cloud Farts, 8 p.m. Eastern. Part of their West Coast swing, and then they play again on Saturday at the Chase Center against the Warriors, 8:30 Eastern. John, how you feeling about this road trip?
Yeah, I think this is a good test, a very good test, because look at the 4 teams they're playing here. I mean, you go look down the list here. Oklahoma City's young. We saw what they did the second game of the season. Obviously, Golden State, Sacramento with Mike Brown, coach of the year last year.
Yeah,
shocked everyone with the postseason. They're still, I got a bright future ahead, and will probably make the playoffs again this year, even though they're struggling a little bit out of the gate at 2-4. And then Portland's kind of in that like semi-rebuilding stage. So I think if you come out of here with a 2-2 record, it was a success. Obviously, if you count the Portland, if they win that, but I would like to see them, pull out a win over either Oklahoma City or Golden State. One of those two would be great. I don't think both are going to happen, but we'll see. You never know. It's a good test this early in the season due to West Coast trip. You don't see it very often, but if you can get it out of the way, that's good.
Sam mentioned in his article when he gave us a shout, John, that he thinks that the Cavs are going to split. He doesn't know which one. Sam, have you honed in on which one you think the Cavs are going to win?
No, I think that they could get that Oklahoma City game. And Oklahoma City's no joke. I mean, that's a very quality team with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is really one of the most. I mean, he was first team All NBA last year, but you're talking about a guy who really exhibits. He's like Evan Mobley and Nick Chubb. He just doesn't exhibit any emotion. He doesn't get too worked up about anything.
Yeah.
He just goes out and balls. Chet Holmgren's a nice player, but I think that the Cavs, look, when they were really undermanned and blew that lead, they had a 9-point lead with 2 minutes left against Thunder at home.
Yeah.
I think that's still something, they would like to go out and get. Portland, I don't think they have a prayer at Golden State. I'll be real honest, just because they beat the Warriors in Cleveland. It's still going to be very fresh in the Warriors' minds. And the Cavs had to play a really good second half, third quarter there to get past them. But I think that, Portland, Sacramento's not been playing well. You want to talk to me, Sacramento's been a disappointment. If when you talk about the Cavs 3-4 start, they're like 2-4, got blown out by the Rockets. They're missing De'Aaron Fox. The problem with that kind of team, when you're talking about a wounded team that's kind of got its tail between its legs, when you're talking about Sacramento, is they're due to get a win. They're not that bad. So I foresee them beating the Thunder to start the trip, and then Trailblazers to end the trip. Just because it's just a wild, crazy prediction. You never know what's ever going to happen on the road. But I think if they go 500, which I think they can do and assume they might do, that's a win if you go 2-4 on this trip.
Go ahead.
I agree. And the other thing too, people forget about already is that Oklahoma City game. They did blow that 9-point lead with like 2 some minutes left, but they also played that game without Darius Garland. And
without Allen. Yeah.
And without Jared Allen. And Donovan still dropped 43 points that game. But that game, they should have won that game even without them. So if there's 2 games on this trip that they will win, I agree. It's got to be the Thunder and the Trailblazers.
Yeah. You gave us a little tease about the Slate 4 for next week. Monday the 13th at Sacramento against the Kings. It's a 10 p.m. Whoo, it's going to be late. I don't know if I'm going to make that game. I'm all right.
Oh man,
that's going to be a late
one.
Make it. Followed by the Wednesday, November 15th at the Trailblazers. That's another 10 p.m. tip-off Eastern time. Going to be late, and then we end up next week, the fourth week, the Friday 17th, second game of the in-season tournament at the Rock against the Pistons, which they got a lot of great talent too. I don't think that's when you got to can't overlook the Pistons. And then Sunday, the Slate 4 ends up the 19th, hosting the NBA champs, the Denver Nuggets, 6 p.m. tip. Got an interesting couple week and a half coming up here, guys. I think we'll see. We'll learn a lot about the team. Hopefully they get some games as a healthy unit under their belt. And I think if they can build up some momentum, some chemistry, I think hosting the NBA champs, I think that could be a really good game. The Cavs might really try to steal one from the champs there.
Well, it's an interesting November because you had the Warriors come in, you have the Nuggets coming in, and then of course you have the Lakers coming in on the same day as the Ohio State Michigan game. I learned tonight from John Sabol. Those are three pretty big ones coming into Cleveland, and then of course you've got your longest road trip here, these 4 games of the early season.
I see that, and the only thing I hear in the future is this excellent Cavs on the Break podcast coming your way, guys. Coming your way. John, you wanted to wrap this episode up with this day in Cavs history.
This day in Cavs history, as we record this here on November 7th, it's actually going to be this day in Cavs history tomorrow, November 8th.
Gotcha.
I'll give you a year that might kind of give it away. November 8th, 1994. Something happened this day in Cavs history.
That's our clue.
That's our clue.
1994.
The year is the dead giveaway.
The year is a dead giveaway.
Oh, that's when the Gund Arena opened.
Boom. Look at Chase. Nailed
on
it.
November 8th?
Go.
Yeah.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, they had
idea.
the first home game as they opened up Gund Arena.
Did they start on the road? Did they play road games?
I think they did. Yeah.
Okay.
And they lost to the Houston Rockets 198.
It's true to Cleveland form. True to Cleveland form.
Oh, man.
You would have a big
Sam's
deal,
just salty he didn't get that
to-do.
quiz. Were you at that game, Sam?
1994? No.
Or
I was
you weren't.
I was living in Wyoming at that point.
I remember watching that game.
Really?
Yes, because
go ahead.
I just remember because I don't know, we had a family event or something where we got a sneak peek walking around the arena with it was our school or something. And I remember we couldn't see the court, but we just got to walk around the concourse before. This is a few weeks before. I don't remember why, but we did, and getting so pumped for it. And the Cavs, that was when they changed the logo to the black and orange and baby blue. And so it was this new era, and so the blue splash uniforms and stuff. And also the changing of the guard too, because of the different era of the Price, Doherty, Nance era. Price was still on that team, but Doherty and Nance were not. Both hurt, I believe, and then soon thereafter retired. Anyways, but I remember watching that game in my family room and with my dad, and seeing the Cavs and watching that game. And Olajuwon was on that team. I think
Drexler.
Was Drexler on that team in 94?
Sam Elliott.
He might have been. So yeah, good times.
Yeah. The only memory I have of that game is whooping Sam in this trivia contest right now tonight. And so that's all that I got. It was,
You know what happened on this day, November 8th, 2002, regarding the Cavs? You're never gonna get
2002.
No,
Is
this the Bob Sura trying to get his own triple double?
Was it had to do with Dwan Wagner?
No, it
Sean
has
Kemp.
no significance at all.
This is the Sean Kemp team.
The Cavs lost.
No, he wasn't on that team in 02.
No.
Yeah, gone.
Ricky Davis had 31 points.
Oh, no kidding.
In a 108-84 loss to the Philadelphia 76ers. I just looked it up on the internet so I could win at some turfia.
Okay, yeah.
No significance to that game at all. I will say this. Allen Iverson, the Cavs in that game held Allen Iverson to 12 points, and the Sixers were led by Keith Van Horn.
Oh, yeah.
Keith Van Horn always wore tall tube socks. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, when we get to Keith Van Horn's tube socks, we got to close the episode out. That's it right there. Well, that does it for this episode of Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Thank you all so much for downloading and listening. Shouts to the Press Play podcast network for making this possible. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Cavs on the Break. We always follow back. Shouts to DraftKings. Download right now and use code P3Cavs to sign up. New customers and new customers only can take home $200 in bonus bets instantly just for betting $5. That's code P3Cavs only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and NBA. The crown is yours. You can follow Sam on Twitter at Amico Hoops. Catch all of his works and writings at hoopswire.com and follow Hoopswire on Twitter at Wire Hoops. You can follow John on Twitter at John_Sabol. Guys, who wins the Junkyard Dog Award for this episode?
I vote Sabol. Well, actually, you know what? I vote Chase.
Yeah,
because he got the trivia question.
Yeah,
right.
You got to give that to Chase.
Yeah, let's go. I'm
All
so
right.
pumped. Oh my gosh.
So now Chase is in the lead because last time we all won it.
We
split
did.
it 3 ways. So you're winning now, Chase. Congratulations.
Gosh, I want to thank everyone and just rub this into the faces of people who didn't think it was possible. Junkyard Dog, I'm about to wear my necklace to bed and wake up and Les is going to be like, what are you doing? Why are you jingling? Get out of here.
Well, I'd imagine she's used to your surprises.
Jingling all the time. Yeah.
Any surprise.
Sabol, any final thoughts, man?
No, I'm just excited to see what this road trip has in store and trying to get this unit all together and want to see where this team left off in the spring now that they're all back. And we've had 2 games already. Let's get this ball rolling here and see what we can do.
Yeah. Sam, final thoughts?
Wholeheartedly agree. Want to see this, the starting 5. Okoro is going to be out Wednesday. Hope that knee thing's not too serious. But no, I just think that John hit the nail on the head. Let's see all these guys healthy, playing together for the next few weeks and see, we'll get a better gauge of what kind of team they are.
Hey, look, we have a lot of exciting things coming for you on Cavs on the Break. Stick around, and I can't wait for the rest of the season to play itself out. Mike Breen, take us out.
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.